Who managed the workhouses?
Generally speaking, by boards of guardians, if the workhouse was large enough, of course. If you've got small rural parish poor houses, then it was usually the clergy together with the, I don't know, JP or landed gentry that looked after things. And they did so, I think, in quite a laudable way. When it came to the larger institutions that were really looked like prisons and were run like prisons, the industrialized workhouse, as it were, then boards of guardians were appointed. Initially, you had to be a landowner to be a manager of a workhouse, but later on in the 19th century, you didn't have to own land to do that. The Board of Guardians were quite often chaired or headed by somebody who was well off, quite often a justice of the peace or a solicitor or a landowner, and many a landowner actually tried to get workhouses or a workhouse in their area so they could have greater control over it. Of course, the Board of Guardians was meant to inspect the workhouse, but many didn't. Indeed, there are cases of making themselves very comfortable indeed, thank you very much, by having a very pleasant place to have their lunch when they visited the workhouse. It was well appointed and luxurious, and they even had champagne, whilst downstairs the poor were starving. There aren't that many cases like that, but there are many cases of boards of guardians allowing the manager to do almost whatever he wished. There are many cases, the worst being Andover, which was found to be treating people like animals. The rations of food had been cut so drastically that people who had been found eating candles, potato peelings, and even gnawing on the putrid bones of carcasses brought from the slaughterhouse to be made into bone marrow and stew. There weren't all that many, of course, instances of that, but very quickly after the 1834 Act, the Poor Law Act, which sought to punish people because they were poor, then the House of Terror was the name given to workhouses. It was literally a terrible regime, and the managers, of course, on the board of management were responsible. And gradually, as society realized what was going on behind these high walls and closed doors, many case was opened by the police for criminal proceedings, which of course got into the newspapers and helped the case of the poor, pointed out, if you like, to the general public via newspapers that these people were not being cared for, they were being punished.